Hi everyone, it's Sean from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, the Wheel of Time trailer, the full trailer, dropped this week, and it was absolutely glorious. You've seen my reaction video, you've probably seen my breakdown video, but this is my Easter egg video. It's where I take all the little tiny details inside the trailer, and I bring them to life, and I talk about them. And there is a lot to talk about here, so we're going to break down a bunch of still images, we're going to go through them with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to find some stuff that does give us some clues about how the first season is going to progress, and let me tell you, there's some interesting things here we're going to talk about. So if you're new to the channel and you don't know who I am, I basically cover Wheel of Time news. So anything and everything to do with the Sony and Amazon production, I cover here. That's news, leaks, pictures, etc. You name it, it's covered. And when the show comes out, we're going to do multiple videos per episode, breaking everything down right to the smallest detail. If you like that sort of thing, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Now, before we get into the video, spoiler warning, in this video I'm breaking down a lot of Easter eggs in the trailer. That being said, if you haven't read at least the first two books of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, that's The Eye of the World and The Great Hunt, be forewarned, I'm going to ruin major plot points and character arcs from both of those. Also, this is talking about the trailer and the first season of the show, so if you want nothing spoiled going into the show completely spoiler-free, this probably isn't the video for you. Alright, all of that being said, let's get on to the video. Alright, so we're going to talk just a bit about the trailer here, and I'm going to break down a bunch of things in little details. So, if you've already watched my breakdown video, that was a more general video. This one, I'm really going to dig into it. I only gave spoiler warnings to the first two books, so I won't ruin anything beyond that, I do promise. However, I'm going to allude to some things further on. No spoilers, it's just, if you've read the series, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Now, the whole trailer basically opens with a scene of her giving the 3 oaths. Now, this is pretty smart because it describes what an Aes Sedai can and cannot do for the average viewer. And again, I mentioned that in my breakdown video a bunch of times. I think this trailer was for a general audience who haven't read the book series before. Now, I'm going to read a couple of things here. Now, I have them both up here, and I have to read them because I'm old and I have a terrible memory. So, the first oath that she says in the trailer is, "I swear to speak no word that is not true." In the book series, the first oath is to speak no word that is not true. Bang on, 100% accurate, completely the same. Second oath, slight change. What they say in the trailer is to make no weapon which one person may kill another. In the book series, it's to make no weapon with which one man may kill another. So the change there is from man to person. I'm completely okay with that because technically they could have showcased that as a loophole in the books they wanted, and an Aes Sedai could have made a weapon for a woman or a child or a boy, just not a man. Now in the series they said person, probably to make it a little more gender inclusive. That's my guess anyway. Completely fine with that because it technically does close a loophole. Third one. Now this is a little bit of difference, a little bit of a change here. In the trailer it says never to use the one power as a weapon. In the book series it says never to use the one power as a weapon except against dark friends or shadow spawn or in the last extreme defense of her life, the life for warder or another Aes Sedai. So the book series gives caveats where they can use the one power as a weapon. The trailer did not. Now, one of two things could have happened here. One, they just omitted that because it was long and unwieldy and didn't sound great in the trailer. Two, they ignored it completely and it's not in the show at all, and they're just going to kind of use the one power as they want, sort of ignoring that fact. I'm going to go with probably one because a lot of people are going to pick up on number two and they're probably going to say something about it. So there are instances in the trailer, and we've seen them, of Priyanka Bose, who plays Olenna Mosfani, and Rosamund Pike, who plays Moiraine Sedai. They both use the one power as a weapon against shadow spawn and against people that are attacking them and their warders. So we know they do that in the show. It's probably not going to change at all. The oath is just a little bit different. That's the only thing there. All right. Next thing here, this particular photo I just wanted to show, it's a screenshot of the trailer, and it shows 3 of them. So it shows Moiraine in the middle, Liandrin to the right, and I'm going to move my ugly mug here. There is Priyanka Bose, Olenna Mosfani underneath there. And essentially, this is, I believe, one of the scenes where they have Logain captured. You see the torches in the background and whatnot. I think this is where he's in that cage, and he's in the middle of the room. Now, I want to talk about something they're showcasing here. This is her use of the power. She is holding her hands much like, say, Goku would in Dragon Ball Z, gathering his energy, like she's going to throw an energy blast. She looks awfully serene when she's doing it, which is what the Aes Sedai are supposed to do. I like that, and I like the fact that it's all kind of swirling around her, kind of like the energy you'd see in Bleach or another anime. I really like that. I'm going to make a few anime references throughout this, so if you're not familiar with anime, it's just really cool imagery, and I think they're drawing some inspiration from. All right, so this shot here I purely wanted to include for pure fan service. It shows Moiraine right in the middle, and it shows her Kisera on her head. Now that has been a big sticking point for a lot of the fans. They wanted to see her wear that because apparently, according to a lot of people in the fandom, she wears it constantly. It's always on her person, it's always on her head. That is not the case. She does take it off quite a bit in the book series, although she does wear it a lot. We've only seen a few shots for her in the trailer, so yeah, it's hard to say she's wearing it a whole lot, but it does make a lot of sense that she's probably not wearing it on the road because she's going to lose it. It's going to fall off while she's on horseback. It's probably not going to be cemented to her head. It's an ornamental piece that she uses to focus the one power. But it is really neat, and the level of quality in that jewelry piece, especially since it'll be a showcase whenever she's on screen, is beautiful. I really do like it, so I wanted to showcase that here. All right, so this one here, we're going to talk about a change here. Now, in the book series, Lan and Moiraine just show up. There's no real talk of anything that happens prior to, so we don't know about their journeys prior to coming to the Two Rivers. We don't know much about it at all. We get a few tidbits of it here and there when they talk about it later on, and we get some stuff if you've read New Spring. However, these scenes aren't in it. I think it's just sort of an exposition dump for the audience to understand why they're there, where they're searching, and their journey is taking a very long time to get here. One of the other things I want to mention at this point, too, is the trailer does at one point specifically mention, Rosamund Pike says, and it kind of looks like an overdub. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know in the comments down below. But I don't think the audio synced up properly, where she said, it's one of the 5 of you. Now, we know from all of the promotional material that they're probably going to showcase the dragon as being Rand, Perrin, Mat, or Egwene, because they've done a lot of shots where they've shown Egwene and they've spoken about the dragon as well. They've used gender-neutral terms to describe the dragon, and I believe wholeheartedly that Amazon probably wanted to keep the dragon a little bit more of a mystery until the end of the series, because let's face it, in the book series, basically by chapter 20 you knew who the dragon was. And on a reread, I certainly did, because you know who it is anyway, but you catch it on the little hints, and Robert Jordan was not very subtle about his hints and who the dragon was in that particular book. People found out pretty early it was not a mystery. You knew it wasn't just one of the 3 boys. You knew specifically it was Rand. So there's that. I think they're going to try to keep that a bit more of a mystery. Now, what is interesting is they said the 5 of you. I think they're including Nynaeve at this point. I don't know why or how, because I don't believe she travels with them from the Two Rivers. I believe she meets up with them after Shadar Logoth. But again, I think that speech came after Shadar Logoth within the trailer. Or maybe it was just completely edited to add some more mystery, and it's one of those things where it's kind of a fake scene. I don't know, but I want to hear your thoughts on it in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think that was overdubbed on purpose for the trailer? Do you think they went back into ADR and Rosamund Pike kind of said that? Or do you think that they're actually going to include Nynaeve in the possibility of becoming the dragon? All right, so we get this shot here. This is a shot of them, I believe, entering Shadar Logoth because a lot of the architecture looks the same. It's all muddy, it's dark, it's really neat looking. But here's the thing. We don't really see them fleeing here. They're not running. None of them look exceptionally scared. They're coming in slow. They're coming in cautiously. In the book series, they are running for their lives. Moiraine has erected that big wall of fire, and they're booking it towards the city, and they run in, and they find a dilapidated building to kind of hide in. And they are hiding inside, wards are set, and they kind of hang out for the night, until, of course, the boys kind of screw off and find some treasure. But here, if you look at the look in their faces, none of them look scared. They look interested. They look like something's going on. But I don't think they're running for their lives. So this may be a place where they're stopping for the night, but it may not be right after a big battle of Shadowspawn. It might be something a little bit different. There's been a lot of speculation that we're going to see the Whitecloaks right outside the Two Rivers, outside Terran Ferry, and that might be what we see prior to coming in here. So I'm thinking maybe instead of the scenes in Merrilin, where we get the Whitecloaks and they kind of trick them and run away, we get that on the road. I think they're probably going to end up hiding in here from them, but they're not really running for their lives because Moiraine is probably much tougher and stronger than a group of Whitecloaks, and she probably tricks them or finds some way to get them off their trail, and they're not really running for their lives from Shadowspawn. That's my guess anyway. Let me know what you guys think. All right, this one here included again purely for fan service. We see that massive braid tug and flip again in this trailer, and I am sure there's going to be a number of YouTube channels out there doing braid tug, sniff, skirt smoothing, all kinds of different counters for the show, but for sure I will probably do at least one of them because the braid tug's such a big part of the Wheel of Time in Nynaeve. All right, this is Emond's Field, and I'm calling it Emond's Field essentially because, we're getting that a lot. They're calling it the Two Rivers, but they did say Two Rivers in the trailer. I don't know what they're going to call this. But we have the Wine Spring Inn in the background. We know it's Wine Spring Inn from the promotional material and other things. And if you take a look at this thing, that Wine Spring Inn is destroyed. It is smashed. It is not necessarily burnt, though. I don't see many of those timbers and stuff in the background burnt. They look more like they were crashed, crushed, ripped up. And I'm going to move my head here so you can see this a bit. But you see people that are injured in the foreground, but there's a lot of the big stones from the inn around. There's a lot of the pillars. There's a lot of the wood. I think what happens is during the battle it's used as a weapon. Personally, I think they're going to tear the inn apart with one power and kind of use it against the Trollocs, because that doesn't look like the Trollocs did that. That doesn't look like the Fade did that. That is massive destruction, more akin to the one power. That's my guess anyway, and I think Moiraine did that on purpose. All right. Now again, this is the scene we see. In this scene, you see Moiraine and Lan, you see Rand, Egwene, Mat, Perrin, and I believe there is a fifth person almost directly ahead of Egwene there. It's hard to tell. That might be a stone in the background. But at the very least, Egwene is included in this group, so I truly don't think that Egwene muscles her way into joining the group. I think that she's told by Moiraine she is quite possibly part of the problem as well as the boys, and that's why they leave. That's my guess anyway. All right, again, this is a shot we've seen from some promotional material, and I've talked about it a few times. I just wanted to include it because it's so iconic. You see a lot of these houses, they're burnt. The fronts of them are burnt. There's a lot of smoke around, but that is Rand leading Tam on the horse Bella, or the mare Bella, inside Emond's Field after he's injured looking for aid. Now, there's a lot of speculation if we'd see the farm scene, if things would happen inside the town, because we've seen the Wine Spring Inn clip where they were all already in town. They were celebrating, they were drinking, they were having a good time. And then we've seen the clips from London, included in this trailer that we'll talk about later on, where Tam and Rand fought Trolloc, specifically Narg, in their farmhouse. So I think Moiraine is going to spend a few days in town prior to the attack. I think she's going to show up in the evening. There's going to be a big party going on. She'll be wandering around the town the next day, talk to some of the town folk. Rand and Tam will go back to the farm, leave Moiraine in town, and then the attack will happen. That's my guess anyway. All right, so we're going to showcase some of these here. This is Tam al'Thor with his hairmark blade drawing it. Now, this is absolutely stunning. Now, we know from the scenes in London, and from my friend Richard over at Wheel of Time Theory, amongst all of the other people that seen them, there is a heron on the blade of this particular sword, and it showcases it really slowly as he draws it, and he opens it up, and you see the heron. They didn't show that in the trailer, but man, it's I can't wait to see that on screen, because the heron's a really iconic part. Now we're going to talk about this one here. This is Mat. What is the dagger he's holding? Well, that is the dagger from Shadar Logoth. So this happens after Shadar Logoth, and you see those pillars in the background behind him. It looks like where they would hang somebody, and that kind of looks like something hanging in the background too. Now, we've seen from some other promotional material and whatnot. We've seen what we believed to be Aiel hanging in, I think it's Breen Springs. So that is the town that we think is calling it, the one with the water wheels and stuff. That's part of the promotional material that Amazon put out on their page. I will do a video covering that later on. But he has the dagger at this point, so this is after Shadar Logoth, and I think this is the point where he starts to distrust people, and this is probably the village where they meet Thom. That's my guess anyway. All right, so we're going back to that attack on Winter Night, the al'Thor farm here. Now this is, I believe, 100% Narg. It looks like a wolf Trolloc. It is attacking them. Now we know from the footage that they showcased in London that Narg does not talk, at least in that footage, and it seemed mostly complete and didn't seem cut in any way, shape, or form. Now my guess is they're going to include Narg. This will be a nod to the fans. It's a wolf-sounded Trolloc attacking them. The battle seems a little bit different because Rand basically puts an arrow through his throat. Tam attacks him with a spear, and then Tam runs and gets his sword in the middle of the battle after Rand seems to be knocked out. That is from the scenes in London. However, at no point did Narg speak. So maybe they changed it because, let's face it, if they had Narg speak on screen, it would confuse a lot of people for a very long time, unless they had other Trollocs speak too, because why is he special? Why does he talk? But I think they will showcase little tidbits of who he is. Maybe he'll growl and get kind of guttery and maybe make a noise that sounds like Narg, but I don't think he's actually going to speak and say Narg smart. Narg smart, not smark. Narg smart. I don't think we're going to see that because it might confuse a lot of non-book readers. Now, this is the shot of him. I showed it in my breakdown video. I want to showcase this again because they did talk about those horns. Those horns, those prosthetics they had were magnetic and they moved them around a lot. So we know they made one or two really intricate up-close costumes and they could shift them around and make them look different. We've seen boar Trollocs, wolf Trollocs, and bird Trollocs so far up close in the teaser. As well as some goat-faced Trollocs. And they're all really neat looking, but their horns in the background all seem to change, and their tusks are a little bit different. It's because they're magnetic and they can move them around. But again, this is practical effects. This is not CG. This is not VFX. This was not done in post. They took all of that budget and they moved it elsewhere because they did such a good job. And again, I wanted to show this because, like I said in the breakdown video, I'm a child of the 80s. I'm a big fan of practical effects, and this is glorious to me. I get serious American Werewolf in London vibes from this, and I love it. All right, so again, in that scene I was talking about, this is Rand firing arrows at who we believe to be Narg. The first few are ineffective, and then later on in the battle, one goes through his throat. It's been speculated by a lot of fans that perhaps this will be his first use of power in the show, kind of empowering his arrow to go through the throat if the first few are ineffective. Although, my thoughts are probably the first few bounced off the chest of the Trolloc because it's so heavily muscled and maybe not armored, but the skin is thicker and tougher, and the last one's through the throat, which would be a little more tender. Now, this here's Thom. This is pretty much after he pulls the sword apart and brings it up, and then you have Narg attack. There's the other picture of Thom. And this is the shot where Richard and a few other people talked about in London, where the sword comes down and Thom is basically barely holding on, kind of holding it out, and then it gets pushed into his shoulder, and that's where he gets his first wound from one of those shadow rot blades that is going to basically infect him and could quite possibly kill him if untreated by the one power. Now again, here, I showcase this and I'm going to move myself. It's a little blurry because it was hard to get a shot of this, but this is what looks to be sword forms because he is holding the sword completely parallel to the ground in front of him and he's moving, and I'm really excited to see this. Now, again, I don't know anything about sword fighting or the art of sword fighting or anything like that. I'm sure a lot of you folks who watch the channel are interested in that sort of thing and know a lot about it. I would be interested in hearing from you how you think they're going to portray the sword forms on screen, because if they're going to have sword forms, they're going to have someone create them, and they're going to have to keep consistency in them and have them do them right, so they'd have to train these people to do it. So I think it would be pretty difficult. But let me know your thoughts on that down below. All right, so this shot here, I wanted to showcase this because look at the buildings in the background. I believe, and now if you folks remember this was quite some time ago, earlier in the year, we had a bunch of leaks from the set of Fal Dara, where Rand and Egwene were talking, and Rand was doing archery practice out in the yard, and we seen his sword for the first time, and everybody kind of freaked out about it. We've seen his bow, we've seen a lot of Trolloc dummies, things like that. I think this shot is from that particular set when they filmed there, because the background looks the same, his clothes are the same, and the bow he's holding is exactly the same. And again, it's been pointed out a number of times, that is probably not a Two Rivers longbow, that is probably a Shadar short bow, unless, of course, they change the way the Two Rivers longbows look for the show. Now again, keeping in the Fal Dara theme, this is 100% Fal Dara. We have Moiraine and Lan here. Ahead of them are 4 soldiers. Those soldiers are carrying spears, and they were showcased in a number of leaked pieces of footage from Narg from the Daily Trolloc, pictures from Narg from the Daily Trolloc, as well as in that promotional behind-the-scenes footage where they were all on horseback that had the car kind of next to them. All of that showcased these 4 particular soldiers, and there were some videos and stuff out, and I believe I did videos on that a long, long time ago, and they were Shadar soldiers. Now, far, far ahead, you have someone standing on a landing, and this someone looks to be Lord Aelgmar. Now, this is where I want to talk a little bit about Lord Aelgmar. We don't know specifically who's playing him, although it has been rumored for quite some time that Thomas Chihing is going to play Lord Aelgmar. Now, it's hard to tell. This is a back shot of someone. You can't see who it is. Do his ears look like Thomas's? I guess, because that's pretty much the only defining feature we see, because they can give hair and costume to pretty much anybody. Thomas doesn't have a top knot, but he could easily have one. But my money is on the fact that since he was on set around the time they filmed the Fal Dara scenes, since we know that certain other people are playing Shadars as well that were discovered around the same time that he was discovered, my guess is this is Thomas Chahing, and I'm guessing this is Lord Aelgmar. I'm kind of hoping they announce some of these things after this, because I know they were trying to keep a lot of episodes 7 and 8 secret, and I believe this is probably somewhere near the start or middle of episode 7. Again, I want to take a look at some of these soldiers. This is in Fal Dara again, because we see these Shadar soldiers. They all have the same haircuts. They all kind of look the same in their armor, the way they've looked in the previous shot and all the promotional material. But they're all holding crossbows at this point, and I'm going to move myself here just a bit. Down. Oh, I've disappeared. What are they aiming at? So here's the thing. I think at this point, they're aiming at something dangerous, because they have their the crossbows up. They're protecting probably Lord Aelgmar because it looks to be in the same vicinity as when they're walking through the hallway, same backgrounds, same torches and whatnot. What could they be protecting him from? Well, it's quite possible that they're protecting him from the people from the Two Rivers, so Rand, Mat, Perrin, Egwene, Nynaeve. Definitely would not protect them from Moraine or Land because, let's face it, they're known, they're well respected, they know Lan, he was raised there, he knows a lot of the people in Shadar, and they know who Moraine is. So it's probably either the Two Rivers folk or, and I'm going to go on a limb here. Now, it's been said for a very long time that Pedon Fain is only in one episode, in the very first episode, and we never see him again. And it's also been said that he's kind of nonchalantly kind of hanging out in the first episode during the Trolloc attack, and he walks away, so it's very obvious he's a bad dude. And that was part of the London footage that we'd seen. But what if we were all wrong, and he's not just in one episode? What if he's in 2, and he comes back here, and that's who they have their crossbows drawn on? It's the only thing I can think of that works, because there should be no shadow spawn within the keep. There should be no one else dangerous enough in the keep. And I don't think they would be doing this for the Two Rivers folk, especially if they're with Loial, Lan, and Moraine. But that's my guess. Let me know in the comments down below what you folks think. What are they drawing on here? What are they actually going to protect Lord Aelgmar from? I want to show this shot of Fal Dara because we've seen some of the outdoor shots. Take a look at the front there. That's the bridge going across into it. And they are in what appears to be the Blight. So if you look behind them, between those two mountains, I think that down there looks a little more lush, a little more green, a little more less blighty, and that Fal Dara is probably right at the edge of the Blight, and all of that sand and that desolation is probably ahead of them. And Fal Dara Keep is facing into the Blight. That's my guess anyway, and they're protecting that pass to the rest of the Westlands. Hard to tell how they're going to showcase the geography, but that's my take on this anyway. But I wanted to showcase this fortress because it is absolutely beautiful, and like the folks in Monty Python say, it's just a model, but it's really nice. I like it. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about Emond Valda. So Emond Valda, this gentleman right here, I think he's going to play a very, very big role in the series. Now, I'm going to move myself here. You see those feathers that everybody was kind of talking about hanging off his hip here? I have no idea what they're for. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I know they don't denote rank because essentially it looks like their pauldrons on their shoulders denote rank because they're different colors and they have different designs on them. But what does he have on his waist there? Those are a bunch of Aes Sedai rings. So the bottom rings there, you looks like a yellow sister. Next to it, maybe a brown sister. Above that, you can't really tell. That stone looks gray to me. Maybe it's a gray sister. And then he's clipping one to his belt. And what is he clipping to his belt? That's a yellow ring. So another yellow sister's ring. And then we have this shot. So I think they're going to showcase the Whitecloaks capturing a yellow sister, Aes Sedai, and my guess is Chesmal Emery, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, I said this in my breakdown video that it's probably her, and it's because of some comments that Rafe Judkins had made in an AMA, and he said maybe he shouldn't say these things, because he basically brought that yellow sister up, and any time that they brought up a yellow sister, or anyone else, it was Chesmal Emery, and he said, who the F is just Chesmal Emery? I mean, it was kind of a funny moment, but my guess is they're probably going to do this here. Now, I know that she is important in a small way to the story later on, but they're going to cut some major characters out. She wasn't really truly a major character. She did, however, showcase herself a few times in the books later on, but I think they may kill her off very early, and it'll showcase the fact that the Whitecloaks are very powerful, that they are basically a force to be trifled with. And take a look here. You have Emond sitting there. He has this banquet set up in front of the bonfire where they're burning the Aes Sedai. That's brutal. That's absolutely horrendous. His hands are covered in blood. He's drinking what I would guess to be wine out of a goblet, and her death is reflected in that goblet. This is beautiful imagery. I really like it, but it's also showcasing the fact that the Whitecloaks are horrible people, just absolutely horrendous. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're definitely going to be leveled up for the show, 100%. If they're killing an Aes Sedai and burning her at the stake like this, which they kind of allude to a few times in the books that it happens, but you never see this stuff outright. This is crazy. I can't wait to see this, and I can't wait to see how dangerous these folks are. All right, now we're going to talk a bit about this. We see Lan here. He's dressed in white. There's a bunch of people behind him dressed in white, and then we see Moiraine dressed in white. They're all holding their fists to their chest, and they're crying. I'm going to guess that this is Tar Valon, because you take a look at the columns to the right there behind Priyanka Bose, who's playing Alana Bisfani. There's a bunch of Aes Sedai warders that we kind of half recognize in the background in these scenes, and the architecture in the background certainly screams Tar Valon, all the stuff we've seen. I think this is a funeral scene. Now, we have seen Maxim, who is we have seen Stefan, who's Karine Nagashi's warder, played by Peter Franzen, crying, holding a ring in the previous trailer. I believe she dies, he's holding a ring, and this is probably at her funeral here back in the White Tower, because she does die in the books. She is kind of dies off page in New Spring. It's just mentioned that she dies, and she became a fairly important character for at least an episode or two within the show. So I think they took some of her storyline and they moved it forward. She was killed by the Black Asha in New Spring. However, I don't know how this is going to play out here. I don't know if Logain's going to kill her, because we've seen in the last teaser that he does kind of blow up the shield and knocks her down, although we think she gets up afterwards. Or if perhaps some of the other Black Asha are going to get her and basically kill her, and that's how we see that there's Black Asha in the show. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know your comments down below what you think. All right, this scene here, my face is hiding something very important here, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But this is the Whitecloaks capturing Perrin and Egwene. Now, there's a few differences here. This is during the day, not at night, so they're not hiding within the big hand, within the big sculpture, within the steading. They may be in a steading, as far as I know, but there is another major change here, other than the fact of it being in the day, and that's this gentleman right here. Now, Rafe Judkins has said during his IGN breakdown that this is a ram. So, this is one of the Tinkers. The Tinkers were not with Perrin and Egwene. They were with Elias. Why would they make that change? It's possible that the whole caravan went there and the Whitecloaks start slaughtering some of the Tinkers in the caravan with Elias, and Elias kind of helps get them to safety. Although, we've heard nothing about Elias whatsoever for Season 1. No inkling of the actor, no inkling of anyone on set, no inkling of anything in the storyline. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And a lot of people are very, very enthused with the idea of Peter Franzen, Stefan playing Elias, and they're calling it Stefan Wolf, the theory. I don't like that, because Peter Franzen was only on set for a short period of time. He was only there for a couple of episodes, and then he was gone. He didn't come back. And Elias, again, someone who would come and go. I don't think they're going to showcase the character. I think Elias is going to be combined with someone else who may stick around a little bit longer, because let's face it, Peter Franzen is too big of an actor to have him on screen for 2 or 3 episodes and say, we're going to need you in 4 seasons from now. I think it'll be someone more unknown, and I think they'll combine him with someone else. I don't think we're going to see him in Season 1. I think seeing a ram here on the ground kind of knocked out does give us a little more information. Maybe they were still with the Tinkers. Maybe the Whitecloaks waylay the caravan rather than them hiding in the steading. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. There's a whole lot of speculation on this right now. Again, this is still pretty new. We have no other information. Now, this scene here, really hard to get good screen grabs from the trailer, but person on the left is Thom. This looks to be, if you take a look at some of the background in this shot and this next one here, the inn in which he was playing. Now, we do have other shots of Rand and Mat in that inn. We know that that's where they meet Thom. I believe it happens after Shadar Logoth. I believe that we're seeing them on the road. They go to that particular new town, not Four Kings, but a Four Kings-esque type town. I believe they go into the inn. I believe they meet Thom. Thom kind of, takes them under the wing. They talk for a bit, and I think the Fade attacks them there. Because we do know that Thom Alexander William was not on set for a whole lot of time, basically 2 episodes. He didn't show up till episode 3, so block 2, because he was not available. And we know that block 1, episode 1 and 2, they're basically done Shadar Logoth at that point. So because of the way his availability, the way he filmed and how long he was on set, I think they're only going to see him for a short period of time in the end. We'll probably get a few exposition dumps, some talking, you get some songs, and again, the footage in London did say that Thom basically sang a little bit of a song, which is very nice, very cool to see. But I think the attack is going to happen before they leave that town. I don't think they're going to Whitebridge. I think Whitebridge is completely out. By the looks of this here, I think they're probably going to get attacked in that inn. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Is that a fade? I think it is. I mean, that is a beautiful looking sword there. I think it's a fade. This looks like a hero piece to me. But again, let me know your thoughts. All right, now we're going to talk about this, and I got to move myself again because we're going to talk about people on the screen. I've mentioned it in the last video. So we have to the right Lan, just to the left of Lan we have Egwene, then Rand, then Moraine, then Mat, then Nynaeve, then Perrin. Who is that gentleman in the front with the shaggy head of hair? I believe that to be Loial. I'm almost 100% actually that's Loial. So that shaggy head of hair is on someone who is hunched over. So they are hiding their height. They're also further in the foreground. And when they're further in the foreground, they are way taller than everyone else, even though they're farther away. So I think this is Loial. I think this is our Ogier. And I think this is the shot that we haven't seen just yet. So there's been a bunch of shots of the Waygate, them using the Waygate and stuff like that. Unless they change some very, very major things with the story and how they're going to use the ways, they need Loial to help them traverse the ways and to read the guideposts. So I think this is him here. I think this is our first look at our Ogier friend. First official look, I should say. There may or may not be leaks out there right now, just so you're aware. But this is our first official look at our Ogier friend, I believe, anyway. All right, let's go on to the next still here. Now this one here I want to talk about. This showcases Logain, and I got to move myself again, my goodness. And he's being stabbed with a dagger, someone that's in armor trying to stab him, and he's using the 1 power. And I've said it in my breakdown video, essentially he looks like he gives 0 shits. He's not afraid in the least bit. He's wrapping this person up with 1 power, and I'm hoping he just kind of explodes him after this. But there's a reason they showcase the dagger up front like this. 3 golden crowns on a field of blue is Logain's symbol. This looks like 3 stars. The sigil of Geldin is 3 stars on a field of red. So it isn't Logain's sigil, but this is the sigil of Geldin. Now we've seen in the Logain teaser that he attacks Miguel Alvarez, who plays the King of Geldin. And I think this could be either the king himself, some of his bodyguards, because he's attacking the king and his bodyguards. This is probably where he proclaims himself as a Dragon Reborn, because, let's face it, Logain is a Geldin noble, and he's probably going to proclaim himself in Geldin, and he's probably going to fight his way out of country. And I think this is how he does it. This is probably one of the first instances we see him on screen where he's using the 1 power against his own countrymen to get out of the country. That's my guess. But that definitely is Geldin's sigil there. So that's the country sigil. So this is definitely someone in an official capacity, whether it be the king or one of the king's guards, attacking Logain here. All right, another shot of Logain. This is after he melted his cage. This is absolutely glorious. We're going to see a lot of uses of the 1 power, and I think as the seasons progress, we're going to see some crazy, crazy shit. I think we're going to see some stuff that is like definitely Dragon Ball, Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen. I think we're going to see some absolutely nuts stuff going on here, Matrix level stuff with the power, because let's face it, they can do that. And if the show becomes super popular, they will, because it'll draw more people in. And this is just showcasing one of the very small things they can do. Now Logain, again, he's in the middle of that cage. He does not look like he cares at all. He is every inch a king, even captured. And of course he's breaking out here. This is probably just after he explodes that shield. All right, so this is one of the last things I want to talk about. There's two things left I want to talk about. The first is this. Moraine is basically doing one of these. She's doing the wave, right? We talked about before in some of my other videos where Aes Sedai use hand movements, gestures, and their body movements to cast anything, like cast spells. I was going to say cast spells. This is in D&D, to channel the 1 power. And they do that because that's how they learn. If they learn to throw a fireball, if they learn to channel and cast a fireball that way, they have to continuously do that forever. Now, we've seen that a bunch of time in the book series, and this is not a spoiler. Like I said, I'd allude to things later on. If people have read the books, they know. But if they're taught to channel fire in such a way to throw a fireball that they have to move their hand, then if they can't move their hand, they can't throw that fireball. I think that's going to be a major plot point here, because she is certainly throwing her all into gathering the power around her to throw it out there. And then take a look at Priyanka. She's doing basically the same thing. She's using what appears to be air here, and then she does some lightning in the background as well. We see that in the teaser and in the trailer. However, the hand movements, the body movements, I think are going to become very, very important. And I think that's how the Whitecloaks are going to become dangerous. If you incapacitate an Aes Sedai, you take away her hand movements, you take away her body movements, she can't do anything with the one power because they're not taught to use the one power without movements. Now, the Aiel are, the Windfinders, other people can channel, all are, because they're not taught by the Aes Sedai, but Aes Sedai are. So I think that's going to become a major plot point. And speaking of the Aiel, we have a couple of shots of the Aiel here. Now, I did show these in my breakdown video. This is 100% the Blood Snow. This is an Aiel, the 2 spears on the back, the buckler, and Rafe had said, we could call Rafe Rand, I guess, that we are going to see a mystery Aiel in the first season, and I think this is our mystery Aiel. I think this might be Jonwyn, Rand's father. Again, not really too big of a spoiler. I apologize if it was. But I think this is Rand's father, the Aiel, and I think this is during the Blood Snow, the Siege of Tar-Valon, because then we get this. I'm going to move myself again here. We have a gentleman with a yellow cloak and 9 bees on his chest. That's the signal of Ilian. And who do we know is from Ilian? Well, Tam. Tam was basically he rose to the rank to head the companions of Ilian. So he was a blade master. He was a very, very skilled swordsman, a very skilled soldier. So he would have definitely been at the Blood Snow because that's where he picked up Rand. We don't know much about his role in the battle or what he did. We know he was on Dragon Mountain. If you take a look in the background there, that looks to be parts of a mountain. It looks like there are mountain slopes. There's certainly a lot of snow there. And the Aiel, something I want to mention here, is a lot of people say, well, they're in browns and stuff. They also mention them in grays and whites. They also change their cat and sword to blend in with their surroundings because they're essentially the ninjas of Westlands. So they like being concealed. They're really good at it. And it's not a big stretch to think that they're going to wear white and gray in the snow. They're going to figure out how to hide. So I think this is a big fight. We're going to see the fight between them. I think we're going to see this in a flashback, and I think we're going to see Rand born on the slopes of Dragon Mountain. That's my guess here. Now, let me know what you folks think down below in the comments about all of this. I want to hear all of your thoughts on pretty much everything we talked about today. This was a fairly lengthy Easter egg breakdown video. I'm going to be doing this for pretty much every teaser we get, and I'll be doing it for the shows too. They may have to come in parts because, let's face it, this teaser was 3 minutes long, and I just talked for like forever. So we'll see how that goes. Now, I want to thank you all so much for sticking with me here to the very end. I did talk a whole lot, but I do want to mention a couple things before I go. I do want to congratulate Heather again, the winner of my 10,000 subscriber contest. She'll be getting her prize in the mail sometime before Christmas. And I do want to mention my Patreon. So again, I do have some What Up swag. People have been asking me for quite some time, can I buy the t-shirts? Can I buy stickers? Can I buy magnets, keychains? Can I buy anything with What Up on it? I don't have a store. I don't plan on selling stuff in the near future. Maybe at some point down the line I might be, if there seems to be a big enough demand for it. But right now, the only way to get a hold of any of this stuff is through my Patreon. So if you really, really crave some What Up swag, go down in the description box down below, click on my Patreon link, and go there, and it'll describe to you exactly what you got to do to get some What Up swag. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for sticking with me here to the very end, and here's to many more.